Hi, everyone, and welcome to a webinar with Multipliers. My name is Ginia Khazis, and I'm a general partner at Multipliers. Today, I will be your host. The mission of Multipliers is to bridge global technologies with opportunities in the Middle East, and this will be the focus of our conversation today. I've been living in the Middle East for 3 years, and I still feel that I'm learning about region unique needs. And I'm also exploring how investors and entrepreneurs from Europe and from Americas can contribute to the region's growth and success. And today, I'm excited to be joined by three experts in the Middle Eastern business development. Each of them work daily with Tier 1 local venture capital funds, Giga projects, and royal family offices. Let's start with a round of introductions, and I'd love to begin with Naif, the founder of Hagba, the fastest growing fintech in Saudi Arabia. Naif, please share your story with us and tell us about the mission and vision behind Hagba.
Sure. Thanks, Ginia, and welcome, Omar, Saeed, and everyone here. Hagba is a financial technology company focused on savings, the domain of social savings, to be very specific. We are on a mission to decentralize and have innovative solution based on the habits and traditions in the Saudi, mainly for Saudi citizen or Saudi residents, and the Middle East in the next phase. We started in 2020, the first transaction at the middle of COVID. And from the first transaction, now 4 years, we grow almost 4x on a yearly basis. We are one of the fastest growing fintech in the region. And last year, we ended up net profit. And this year, we triple 3x the net profit, double the revenue. And that's the story of Hagba. We are being fortunate to partner with too many blue chip company, from insurance to the banks to airlines, and we got the trust of the regulator to obtain the license or the permit. We're still working under the sandbox environment. We reach now 33 employees in 3 continents with head office in Riyadh. Total savings amounts under management exceeded $1 billion, which is huge. Thank you. We are proud, but the most thing we are proud of is the social impact. The impact we have, and we are very proud of it, from the customer stories, is a real impact, starting from helping them and supporting their financial challenges or needs in education, doing surgery, even start a new business. We focus almost 40% or 50% of our customers are underbanked. And when I mean underbanked, like housewives, university students, gig workers, even SME employees. I don't want to talk too much because I'm sure Omar and Saeed, they have a more amazing story than Akbar.
Thank you, Naif. We're very proud to have you here today. Let's turn to Saeed, president of Impact MENA. Saeed, could you please share your experience working with Australia and other countries and tell us about combining your expertise in the Middle East with relationship with royal families?
Sure. Thank you, Genia, and thank you for our fellow guests. Naif, that's very impressive. You and Omar have done distinguished well, and thank you for Genia to organizing this interesting speech and talk. Now, my name is Saeed Al-Sadi. To start with a bit of a story, I'm originally from Palestine, born in Saudi, grew up in Saudi Arabia, and then spent 15 years in Australia, representing Saudi interests in the APAC region. Worked on many high-profile projects, especially focused on political risk and strategy. And then returned into Saudi Arabia in May 2022, where things have been booming, crystallizing, and very promising. It has been since much longer than that, but to advance, and this is probably all people looking to raise capital to do business with Saudi need to learn that to really understand Saudi, you need to be in Saudi. You need to, adopt the Saudi vision and live in it and grow with it. And Saudi Arabia rewards heavily companies, investors, entrepreneurs that are willing to jump on the journey, are willing to take the risk and grow together. A good example of that is Lucid Motors, for example. Lucid Motors, when they first set up their manufacturing in Saudi Arabia and went all in with Saudi Arabia, I think the first order, it was 100,000 cars contract with the government as a sign of support and reward to companies that are willing to localize their technology, localize their production, and and grow with the Saudi vision. So with Impact MENA, the Access Circle, it's a high-profile, very exclusive networking platform, showcasing who's who and the best of the best in Saudi Arabia with who's who in the world, not just in investments. Investment encompasses culture, arts, women empowerment, entrepreneurship, technology. So the idea is Saudi Arabia has a lot to offer, have a lot of young, very vibrant talent, and we would like to be that cross platform between the high achievers of Saudi Arabia with the high achievers of the world.
Thank you very much, Said. And I was one of the members of Impact MENA event this autumn, and it's impressive event, and I'm looking forward to participate the next. And now let's hear from Amar, President of Future Pipe Industries and the founder of Global Possibilities. I know that you are particularly passionate about climate tech in the Middle East and advise sustainability companies on business growth. Please share your vision for the development of this industry in the region.
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and Assalamu alaikum. It's very good to be here with you, Genia. Thank you for this webinar, and it's an honor to share the stage with both Naif and Saeed. Both of them very impressive resumes and the stuff that they're doing. So congratulations, guys. So just a quick intro about myself. I'm the president of Future Pipe Industries. We are one of the largest manufacturers of fiberglass pipes in the world. We have 14 factories worldwide, 50 offices, and about 5,000 employees. What makes us stand out, and on your question, Genia, is because we produce non-metallic pipes, fiberglass pipes, which is much more sustainable, better for the environment. So we compete primarily against steel, iron, and even HDPE or plastic pipes. So, and actually, Aramco happens to be the largest customer for Future Pipe for across the world. They make up almost 40% of our revenue. We're like $1 billion company. So thank you, Aramco, and thank you to Saudi for your business. We're honored to have them. We even have a big plant in Saudi as well. And basically, I think on the sustainability angle, because there's companies and governments have signed up to the net zero 2050 pledge on the net zero emission. So it has mobilized and even accelerated the demand from the customers to switch quickly into any kind of product or solution that will be better for the environment and also better on their P&L. And luckily, because fiberglass does not corrode like steel or iron, you don't need to do any maintenance. It can stay with you for like the next 70, 80 years and you don't have to touch it. So it's not only good for the environment because it's lighter than steel and iron, but also it's cheaper because there's no maintenance costs. So this is the reason why we're very successful in that field. Now, on the point of tech as well, apart from my role at Future Pipe, is I'm the founder of a company called Global Possibilities. We're registered in Florida, in London, and in Dubai. I set up this business because when I was still in the US, I'm sorry, about 3 years ago, we saw a huge demand for climate tech businesses to enter this region. I think it's because the governments in this part of the world have have sent out the message that they want to not only make money, but they want to have a positive impact on the environment. So we noticed that there was a huge demand from these companies. So I represent one of the companies called Ebb Carbon. Genia, you know them very well. Ebb Carbon they do decarbonization at desalination plants, and we are in the very final stages talking to the clients here in the region, both in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia, to take on their technology. And with the technology, after decarbonizing, they'll be able to sell carbon credits to companies like Microsoft, Stripe, and many other multinationals that are wanting to buy carbon credits. The other companies that I consult for are Google and Nestle, which from their side, they're not only looking at their core business, which what they do, but they're looking at ways to transition into climate-centric solutions. So Nestle, for example, all of their delivery trucks are now run by hydrogen. And even they have electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles. So now they move everything mostly to hydrogen. So in the UAE, they're the first company that transformed all their trucks to that. You even have companies like McDonald's and stuff that they're using now only like biofuel for all of their trucks as well. Google as well have created a fund to support like local green tech companies in the UAE. So they're doing something called for Google for startups, but supporting companies primarily within this field. Sorry, I forgot to mention also Nestle just last month launched a project called Sustainability Heroes. So they are willing to support up to 150 startups by entrepreneurs in the climate tech space. And they would, once the womeners will not only get funded, but they have an opportunity to present those technologies to Nestle. So I'm involved in all of these different things from both my day job and the consultancy. And that's just a bit about how I'm involved in this, in the climate tech space.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amar. And before we dive into our conversation, I want to remind our listeners that you're welcome to submit questions. I see that there is several people here very active. Yes, guys, we would highly appreciate if you can ask questions. And I will open this conversation after, let's say, half an hour. I have 6 questions to my speakers, and I want to start with the first. I want to emphasize that today's conversation is all about exploring the opportunities in the Middle East, and we will talk about fundraising, business development, and about different industries that are in high demand. And the first question is about Vision 2030. I know that part of the audience is from outside of the Middle East, from America, from Europe. They probably don't know what is this problem about. And I want every one of you elaborate on this. What is it? How it is different between Qatar, Arab Emirates, and Saudi? And why is there such a strong focus on executing the goals of Vision 2030? And Naif, I would start with you.
Sure. If you look for Vision 2030, when His Royal Highness Crown Prince announced it in 2016, it focused on different elements, clearly to make vibrant society, strong economy, which go with all the aspects from the sports to the healthcare, to innovation, to research. It touched every single aspect of the economy and the society. At that time, as I'm sure most of us will remember, everyone said it's too wild, it will never happen. But part of the philosophy, if you aim, shoot high. And His Royal Highness said in one of the interview with the Western media, he said, one of the challenges with the corporate people, they bought a small target, 10, 15, 20, 30%, to secure their bonuses. As a country, this is not the same. We have very ambitious plan and position we want to be. So if you look for where we've been in sports or even in fintech, for example, when I started in 2018, I want to start the company, 2018. Most of the banks or even the regulator, 2017, I started discussion, still under formation. They don't know what they want to do with the fintech yet. All what it takes is 12 months, 2018. They know exactly where they're heading, what is the strategy, and what they want to do. So they focus on the payment and the wallet at the first wave. Then they start to formalize. So if you look for Vision 2030, this is the cornerstone. If you deal with the government or private sector, they touch always one or two or more of those pillars, which clear metrics, clear KPI, clear direction and vision. You cannot say, for example, in environment, you cannot have a doubt if you want to start a business in environment, you will have support or not. You will face challenges in regulation or surprises or not. Okay, just a minute, sorry. Apologize. So, and this clarity is important for investors, is important for business community, for entrepreneurs. 5 years, moving to Riyadh was a hard option. Now is much, much easier. Actually, not just easier, is coming a must for a business to be part of this growth. So why Vision 2030 important? Because it's a roadmap. Regardless, you're working in health industry or manufacturing industry or defense industry or financial or sports or tourism, whatever your sector, whatever is your domain, you have a clear direction. What is the governmental goal in that area, which is not the same in too many countries around the globe, even in the Europe. If you want to invest, you know there's a market, but the regulation, you don't know when it will be changed. Is it in your favor or not? Now, back to Saudi, specific case. If you want to call it like a gold rush, it is a gold rush, but in good way. Not a wild west life, no, wild west. It's gold rush for a good cause. When you look for NEOM, it's a dream and is a future, and we transforming that. It's easy to build a city on empty land, but building a city too futuristic with zero or net zero carbon neutral, that is a challenge. How to make it technology edge without compromising lifestyle, that's what we are building at NEOM. If you look for even tourism part in Red Sea, Shibara, when you look for those chalet or those resorts, it looks like science fiction. If you look for the stadium of NEOM or stadium at Qiddiya in the top of mountain, that's science fiction. If you go even for industry or for the market, now we have around 256 fintech. The target is 520 by 2030, which means we're almost 60% to achieve that target. So to the point, it's important to read the Vision 2030, go to the website, they summarize it in very easy and visual way in every aspect. And one thing I can brag of it, I'm very proud of it, you will never find support from regulator, support from the government, like what you will find it in Saudi. If you have intention to work and to added value in Saudi, you will find all the support from starting from the ministerial level to all the way, which is a heaven for any entrepreneurs or businessmen or someone who want to start a business.
Thank you, Naif. Said, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, Naif didn't leave me much to add, but I think it was a good introduction to Vision 2030. Just want to take a step back where Naif started. When Vision 2030 started, it started in necessity, for not just for Saudi, for the GCC, with their visions and diversifying their economies from oil. And at that time, oil wasn't that high. It was on a low, and it's not even hitting their break-even point at that stage. And dependency and expectation of how much oil will stay. Although a lot of people, people say it will finish in 15, 20 years. People say it will never finish. But regardless, Saudi Arabia, which I like to call it the sleeping giant that just woke up, needed that change and wanted to do that change. And this is what's very impressive in Saudi. Everything they touch in a new area, is impressive, needs the change, and there's a lot to do and build. With the potential of Vision 2030, as Naif put it, into different categories, changing all the way from culture to changing into the acceptance, the image of Saudi Arabia. If you put, and that's a very critical part, I think, of the Vision 2030, is the culture and the image of Saudi Arabia. If you, Genia, as an expat, as a foreigner from Saudi Arabia, if you heard the word Saudi Arabia first time 10 years ago, what's the image would you have in your head? 5 years ago, 2 years ago, today, and in the coming years? Vision 2030 set a very ambitious goals, which a lot of people found it unrealistic. I remember in 2017, CNN had an article saying Saudi will go bankrupt in 5 years, but I think that's far from that. With all the changes happening, Saudi Arabia, we're talking about almost $7 trillion worth of projects on all aspects. But Saudi Arabia, and it's a new approach, it's not paying the $7 trillion. It's opening the door. They're putting the seed money, but they're opening the doors for the private sector, the public sector, the PPPs, the BOTs, the FDIs, and many other partners to come and build that vision with them. Now, another part of the discussion, which is very important, is post 2030. A lot of people are still talking about 2030, but post 2030 is a big question, and I think it's shaping very well. A lot of the KPIs for Vision 2030 itself has been already met, and they have extended those KPIs. Post 2030, you have Expo 2030 happening in Saudi.
Sorry, just to add one comment. His Royal Highness, he answered that. He said, when they asked him what about after 2030, he said 2040, 2050.
Yeah.
Which means we'll never stop.
And we can see it. Forget about the $7 trillion worth of projects with the giga projects and so on. You have Asia Cup 2027. You have the Winter Olympics happening in Saudi. You have the Expo 2030 happening in Saudi. You have the World Cup 2034. And if you put an example on some regional countries, when they had the Expo or the World Cup, that was a full-on 10-year project. But they're handling all of this all together from here to 2034. And I'm sure by next year, we'll know what's happening after 2034 as well. Saudi won't stop from capitalizing and building that image, presence, and exposure to the globe.
Yes, thank you, Said. We're talking about giga projects here, but what about seed and Series A companies? At Multipliers, we deal every single day with people who are raising their first seed or Series A, but sometimes I see that they're too early or too late, or they're overpriced because they're coming from America. Said, this is a question to you. Working with global companies, what do you recommend to them?
Now, going back to Vision 2030, with the excess amount of funds, investments, partnerships, acquisitions, and all of that. But something you need to know and keep an eye always is there needs to be a Saudi element to things. So a lot of people that are coming to raise money to take it back to their countries, maybe that's possible, but that's not the purpose. That's not the vision. That's not what Saudi investors want. They want the Saudi element. They want the localization. They want the information. They want the skills development. They want to transform all of that into, a global partnership, co-production, co-invention. And that's something for investors, people that want investment. They need always to keep in mind, what are you providing to the kingdom? Same as when you're coming to set up a company or a business in Saudi, what are you adding to the market? So always we recommend our clients and partners, what are you providing? What are you putting on the table for Saudi that you will make Saudi want to invest in you?
Thank you. And let's dive deeper into Saudi market. Naif, as a fintech expert with your banking background and experience growing Hakba, I know that Saudi Arabia plan for 2030 includes digitalizing the entire population to ensure everyone can use digital payment system. I want to ask you, what other initiatives do you think could support Hakba growth in the region?
Not just that. Let me start with one of the elements very strong in Saudi and almost only in Saudi is the governmental digital infrastructure. If you look for all the government services, almost 96%, if not more, is digital. There's a platform for it, or there's one gateway, digital gateway for it. Even the process, even the legal system, the court, promissory notes, KYC, all the aspect. Why this is important? Because that will open the potential for any idea, because the infrastructure, digital infrastructure, is already there to serve. What you need is to build on it. It's easier. You don't need to find what is the best service provider for KYC or facial recognition to prove your account or your identity. You have it from the source of the government. The trade, even if you have something like what Umar have in the business with the pipes, export or import, now they do it digitally, which much easier than send people on the ground. That's element. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, not to cut you, just to simplify what you're saying is Saudi actually by ranking is number 1 on the Middle East as an e-government and digital government, and number 4th globally by the G20 countries. This is how advanced Saudi is.
True, 100%. Now, with the government having a cashless society, as per the last stats, and sorry I didn't check it before the webinar, I think we reach 65% or 70% cashless transaction, if not more. Most of them even from mobile on the point of sale, which is huge. And they need to double check the number. I think it's higher than that. Anyway, if you look for Financial Sector Development Program, FSDB, if you are interested in the fintech, this is your roadmap, either in wealth management, personal banking, or robo-advisory, wealth management, savings, whatever the domain, this is the document is for you. You need to read it, you need to understand it very well, which is crystal clear, and you have 2 governmental entities, either central bank or capital market authority. If it's in debt lending or a banking or fintech on that domain, not stock market or any of the investment aspect, that's SAMA. Otherwise, it will be a CMA. And both, they have sandbox. And the sandbox, which is very innovative initiative, for any solution, there's no regulation for it. So they will not stop you. They will give you an opportunity to work under the sandbox with limitation. So it's a learning curve for both. They will learn so they can draft a regulation, and you will learn so they can protect the customer, and you grow. So they will not kill your idea by saying, we don't have a rule.
Yeah, interesting. I actually heard about that Saudi is challenging right now Singapore market and also United States fintech market. And this is exactly the sandbox. But let's move on to capital. This question is for Naif and for Saeed.
Capital is not an issue, Jinia. In Saudi, is not an issue at all. If you have a good idea, you will find the fund. You will find it either from the governmental initiative as a grant or support or aid. You find it from family offices. You will find it from VCs, and don't limit yourself to VCs in the region if you disagree with them, because I have very strong opinion, and I'm still stand with it, which is most of the venture capital in Saudi are not venture. They are not there at all. They use private equity school to venture capital school.
Yes, I've heard about this too. Said, can you also add about your experience from working with family offices and raising capital from them?
Family offices, look, the GCC and the Arab world, and the GCC especially, and GCC is the Gulf Cooperation Council. We just discussed this, sorry, Jeannie and I. We would like to give a bit of introduction on GCC. It's it's the Union of Gulf countries, which is Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, UAE. So they're mainly 6 countries. Now, they're more of, and the culture here is very family oriented. That's why you'll hear a lot the family offices, because a lot of businesses here are family businesses, run by family, inherited by family, and dealing with those family offices, you need to do your due diligence and understand who you're dealing with, what's their background, what's their interest. So you cannot go to a family that is known and simple but long in trading, normal trading and commerce, and talk to them about metaverse and the most futuristic ideas. You need to resemble to them. You need to understand who you're dealing with. Why would they invest in you? Naif said very important thing. There is no shortage of money here, but you need to do the right pitch to the right people in the right way. What's in the
right valuation also. Say it with the right valuation. You cannot say I have an idea is 100 mil. That's insane. Ideas worth nothing.
Especially here, because
ideas worth nothing. I'm not paying for your idea. I'm paying for execution. Everyone, okay, you have an idea, fly to the moon, show me how we will do it.
Yeah. No, definitely. And, again, going back to due diligence, knowing who they're connected to, how they can support you. So why do you want to pitch them? Is it just for the money? Because families in here are much more than money. They're about influence. They're about networks. They're about what they can achieve for you and what you can achieve for them. So that's very important angle when you're tackling the family offices in Saudi Arabia or the wider GCC region.
Yes, thank you, Said. Let's move forward, and I'd like to ask the question to Amar. I would like you to share your insights on working with local corporates and giga projects. Building relationship can take time here. Do you have any tips for opening doors and getting things moving?
Thank you, Genia. By the way, I just have to say maybe one more thing about Saudi, since we were talking about Saudi, and but I forgot to mention I also have a business in Saudi. I have an events company in Saudi. So when everything opened, my business partners are Saudi and they're from Khobar. So I also decided to dive into that, and alhamdulillah, it's been very good. So I was going to say though, I think in 2030, on your question, Genia, isn't Saudi going to be celebrating 100 years, right? 100 years old, it'll be 100 years National Day, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought
we passed.
You passed 100 years already?
We have 2 things. We have National Day.
Yeah, the National Day.
Yom Ta'sis.
Oh, okay. No, Yom Ta'sis is older. Maybe I don't know. The National Day is, I think, the one that we'll just celebrate on 2030. Anyways, so inshallah, we'll wish you a happy birthday then as well. I was gonna say, so on your question, Genia, there's 2 things. I mean, obviously there's opening the doors, but also keeping the doors open. That's what I really specialize in. Both Saeed and Naif mentioned a lot of characteristics which are very similar in the Gulf countries. In this part of the world, it's truly all about building your rapport, the relationship is really, really important. I always try to explain to everyone that, yes, there is money, as was mentioned by both Saeed and Naif. There is the willingness to work with you and to partner with companies, but the thing that will set you apart is building the trust between the individuals themselves. Unfortunately, whether it was with the UAE and whether it is still with the UAE, and of course with Saudi when the doors have opened even more so, a lot of people expect that there's just we're going to come and the person they're going to meet is going to give them a blank check and say, choose the number you want. And it does not work like that. It could be the best idea in the world, but still they need to cultivate those relationships and make it work. And this is why today you see companies like Goldman Sachs just announced that they're opening in Saudi, because it's not enough that they're managing the funds for the Saudi government, but if they want to work closer with entities like PIF, the Public Investment Fund, they need to be present. They need to show their commitment as well. It's the same thing when I tell people who come to the UAE. If you want to be here and you want to go forward, show your investment, whether it comes in two ways, whether you want to hire somebody local from here who can represent you, or yourselves come and set up an office. Because the more people see you, when they see that long-term commitment, they will feel comfortable putting their money in you. Because the thing is, they won't come in small. When they come in, they'll come in big and they'll come in like long-term with you. They want to, that's it, you know? But if people understand that, but also I think, what I try to do is manage the expectations on both sides too, because I managed to talk to the local government sector people here as well. And I tell them, look, yes, I know you want these people's commitments, but at the same time, there are certain challenges that they're facing in their economies, which prevents them from making such a commitment. So I try to find a way to kind of balance it between the two. This is why a lot of the companies work with Global Possibilities, and we're able to kind of mitigate between the two. So the local government officials, they trust me, they know who I am. I mean, I'm all over the media or this or whatever. They know my family, they know our history and everything. And at the same time, you have these companies that they see my connection with the US, and we're registered there as well. So they want anything, they have a problem, they can go after my company in Florida where we're registered. So and I'm always between here and there, 6 months here and maybe 3 months in the UAE, and sometimes in the US, and then the UK as well. So this is sort of the kind of advice that I give people here. And if you want to keep that door open, don't just have the communication on the business deal that you want to have and then disappear. They say out of sight, out of mind. So if you want to see people to know you, message them every once in a while. Like, the holidays, this is the end of the year, there's Christmas, there's this and whatever. You can send a message, Eid as well, Eid, Ramadan, like talk to people, message them, give them something like a small treat. Like this is the way that you build that network.
Omar, sorry, Jean, I just want, you said very important thing interesting thing about a lot of people come here, they think they will get a blank check. And this was probably a big misconception. I mean, this has been long going, but this has been heavily advertised when the founder of SoftBank met His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, and the Western media advertised it as he got $40 billion in 40 minutes. And, but they don't understand that it went through a long process of due diligence. His Excellency Yasser Rumayyan, the governor of PIF, who negotiated all of those deals, and that meeting was the final okay. So it doesn't happen like this, and it's a bit unrealistic to get $40 billion in 40 minutes from whoever you deal with. Saudi is very sophisticated. Coming here thinking you're going to teach them, I think, yes, you can add, but also you will learn a lot. They have very sophisticated leadership, very well-educated and experienced leadership in all levels and sectors.
That's true.
Guys, we have a lot of questions here, but I have the last question for all panelists, and I want to talk about global investors who are looking at the Middle East as an emerging market with significant potential in coming years. What is the advice for them? Because we see a lot of, let's say, Indian money and first-time GPs that are opening the investment vehicle in Dubai, or let's say Russian money, or someone from Singapore who is landing here, what is the advice for them, for those people who are just opening the market and they want to invest in companies here?
You want me to start?
Yes.
Let me start with a misperception, which is either Riyadh or Dubai, or Riyadh or Abu Dhabi. Is not like that. And all the officials make it clear. We are competing with each other, not against each other. What happened with that healthy competition and complement is we growing the market. It's not a zero sum. It's not like 100 and we split it, or we take from their part and they take from our part. We make it from 100, we make it 700. We make it much, much more bigger. And depends on which area, regardless, is it Russian money or Chinese or European or the US, it depends on the domain or market. What is the area you want to invest? Which country or which city is the right way? For example, big Chinese company, they invest in infrastructure for ports in Jazan, southern, not even in Riyadh. Every business is different, which back again is not checklist, black and white, either here or there. You need to know exactly who's your customer, who's your business needs from facilitation. Is it in Riyadh, or is it in Neom, or is it in Eastern Province or Southern Province, or Jebel Ali or Abu Dhabi, regardless, or even Doha? We look for GCC, mainly the biggest or the most three vibrant economy, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi, are one block, with Oman now is rising, Bahrain and Kuwait. We look for them as complement each other in every aspect.
Saeed, do you want to add something? You also work with international investors.
Yes, and this is probably more of my specialty. We run Access KSA, which is a market entry strategy advisory and corporate services firm for international businesses that they want to access, navigate, and grow in the Saudi market. So what Naif said is true and important anyway. For example, Jizan gives you, the largest and one of the few free zones, economic zones in Saudi Arabia that give you a direct access to Africa, for example. That's why it's heavily subsidized for manufacturing and re-export. So Omar, for example, mentioned there in Khobar. Khobar is the hub of industry in Saudi. That's hence, his largest client is Aramco. And that's where you have Aramco, SABIC, and all the industrial companies. For example, if you're doing import, distribution, and trading, Jeddah port historically have been the place to set up to bring goods and distribute. Riyadh, if you're into construction, or if you're into pitching, tendering, and to approach the mega giga projects, the decision making, the political capital is Riyadh. So it's important to understand the differences between the different cities based on your interest, focus, and strategy. And it's very important to build a comprehensive strategy before you go into the market. Saudi is very profitable for the people that know what they're doing, for the people that are willing to invest, take the risk, and calculated risk, but also doing the right planning, due diligence on the market. As you approach the market here, you need to also know what activities you want to do. So in certain activities, you still need local partner, but more than 90% of the activities, you can have 100% ownership, which a lot of people come and ask us anyway. I'm looking for a local partner while they don't need one. The way you set up in the market. So for example, a lot of companies, they go from the beginning into marriage with local companies without knowing, no, you should set up your own entity, your own body, and you partner or set up JVs accordingly. You don't tie yourself and go into a new relation without knowing exactly who you're working with, and you have tried each other very well. So there's a lot of strategies and ways to mitigate, navigate the market securely, safely, and strategically.
Thank you, everyone. That brought us to the end of my questions, and we're open for the questions of our listeners. And I have 3 of them so far, and you are very welcome to ask more. The first question comes from Alex, and he's asking what are the risk factors or critical factors for the company that is providing electronic KYC? And I think that, Naif, probably for you, it will be easier to answer this question.
What is the point of having a KYC? What you want to achieve from having a KYC is to identify this is a legitimate citizen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the objective, there's another governmental services or companies, 2 or 3 providers, they have it directly. So you compete with them, you need to have your added value, something different or a different level where you can give more layer of authentication or facilitation for that. But for the core, mainly when we talk about dispute or the customer deny this is him and you go to the court, do you think the judge will take your solution as a proof or will take the others? Or you need to partner with Digital Government Authority, DGA, to see if you can be part of the approved solutions. But standalone, this is not a crypto and you need to prove their wallet for the user.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that the next question would be easier to ask any one of you, but I think that we can start with Amar. I think that Khalid wants to understand the roadmap for sustainability programs in the Middle East.
Yeah, so in the UAE, we have a few projects when it comes to sustainability. So, for example, there's the UAE Water Strategy. I think it's UAE Water Strategy 2036 or something. I'm not really. I think it is that. Then you have, of course, the net zero emission plan, the UAE net zero plan for 2050. All these plans are available online. You can read on it and reflect on it, and digest what solutions you have that can support the government with these long-term roadmaps that the government has. Now, in general, when it comes to sustainability and everything else, number one, there is the Dubai plan, or Dubai Urban Plan 2040, which very clearly lays out how much pedestrian walkways Dubai wants to have, how many trees they want to plant across the whole city, and the idea is they want to make it like a 15-minute city where from anywhere you want to get to, you can walk like 15 minutes between here and there. And one of the places that they're experimenting it with is at the Expo site. So that's why they built the Expo with all these homes that are coming up over there, and people are moving towards the Expo. Companies are setting up an Expo as well, like their headquarters. So they're trying to make it a way where how can you walk from your home to your office without needing necessarily to drive there? Or if you do, maybe you could have like a club car or something more manageable that way. So you have this, you have the Urban Plan 2040 that can help you. You obviously have, I told you, the 2036 water plan and everything. What the UAE is trying to do, even let's say from a food perspective, is right now we import easily between 80 and 90% of our food needs, which is terrible because it's a huge national security problem. That's why the UAE is trying to attract a lot of companies with food tech or agri-tech solutions to try to support, and I don't think it's only a UAE problem. I think it's a Gulf problem. That's why I can see Naif and Saeed like nodding their heads. I think it's a Gulf problem, and an issue we've seen, for instance, even with the Ukraine-Russia war. It's terrible because Ukraine, for instance, supply 40% of the world's wheat needs. Even Russia has a lot, but now because they're at war, they need it for their own supply. And war is expensive. We've also seen this other issue with COVID. So because countries were not willing to export this product that they sell and they make money, but they don't care because they need to feed their people first, it quickly taught us that we need to come up with more sustainable solutions locally. So if you have, for instance, a seed or some technology to make our sand more fertile, trust me, they will hire you, they will buy your business or your technology in a heartbeat, because they're literally, this is in huge demand. I know this because every time I brought a company to the government, they don't take more than a day to say, yes, we want to come and see you. So those are my sort of like suggestions when it comes to sustainability projects.
100%.
I actually wanted to add that sometimes I hear that, sometimes it takes years to agree on something. I'm always knowing that this is just the right fit for the country or for this specific person who he's not a decision maker. And if something is a right fit, it usually takes days. It's just several days.
Jania, let me add here, and Umar and Sayed can agree with me. Even if you have the greatest business plan, you will not get the money, or you'll not have the right business if we don't trust you. We need, because ethics and the trust, that's important, regardless how many pages. Like some of investors, they said, shall we sign NDA? I don't care about NDA. If I trust you, I will send you I give you my data room. If I don't trust you, I don't care how many pages in the NDA you will sign. That's why I have white hair. We do the business on that still all the way.
Another question we have from Azamat, and he wants to build a fintech firm by now, pay later, and he's asking about licensing requirements and if it actually does have sense to open it in KSA right now.
You need to engage with SAMA immediately, but you need to double check who's the player in this domain. And I think we have more than 14 or 18 license. The biggest two is Tabi and Tamara, definitely, and they're almost unicorn, both of them.
Which could be a good sign. The next question is, Subir want to ask, what are the main technology areas in GCC that have good potential?
I didn't understand the question. Said.
Maybe a bit of understanding, and and I believe our friend Omar answered it a little bit before. All areas are good. Cutting edge technology that solves a problem, that advances, and provides a solution. So if you have any, all aspects are important, all aspects are growing, but the only successful businesses are the businesses that has a solution, as Omar said, in and fertility of the soil, and vertical farming, for example, and AI, and e-government. So and KYC, as our friend just asked, if you're adding a new angle, an innovative angle, then it is definitely a good area.
But Omar mentioned good point. You want just to emphasize it is the most important is not just a solution for a problem. I know many founders love to say, this is the problem, this is the solution. Doesn't matter much. What is more important is either the customer or investor willing to pay for that solution. Sometimes you have a real solution for real problem, but people are willing to live with those problems. It's not that biggest problem for them. They want to pay or to shift. That's why you find a lot of legacy systems and technology. Let me give you an example for the willingness to pay. At the hotel, you're paying 35 dirham if you are in UAE for a cola from your hotel, and you pay that with a pleasant, because you don't want to go outside your room, go find a supermarket and pay it with 1.5 dirham. But
I thought they taste better.
You're at the restaurant and they give you a price of 35, you will shout on them and you tell you are a thief. The willing of the same customer is different from situation to situation. So you need to go back and look into your solution, how you package it, and either the investor are willing to pay for that one or not. Like Omar mentioned here, if you have a solution to make the sands fertilized, the investor will fight for you because we have too many sands. But if you tell me like we'll double the tomato or potato, maybe only McDonald's will invest in you.
The critical issue, and what's more critical than the soil is water. And this is why in food security, a lot of the GCC governments and Saudi Arabia and UAE especially have big farms in Ukraine and Australia and Brazil and Russia, where because farming it there and importing it, it's way cheaper than spending the water, the very scarce and precious water on basic farming. And this is under PIF, you'll find they're going into coffee farming, into high value products that is worth the water, and everything else they can simply import it.
I will give you an example in Aqua Power, one of my previous jobs. In Morocco, for example, when we have a solar power plant, which is one of the biggest, one thing we did it as a social problem is forbidden building a compound. Employees, they have to rent from the locals. So there's no compound for all the power plants. That will elevate the life of the local community and train the local workforce to work with the power plants, with welding or something very basic. Doesn't need a sophisticated certificate, which is essential. And part of it is the farming. So you go to buy from the local market, because the amount or the volume going high, the local encouraged to find a new way to answer this demand, because they don't want us to go to buy from other cities or outside their own city. What is that? That's willingness to buy drove the innovation, where they come with very simple solution, not tech advanced, but very innovative solution to increase their volume from the farming or chicken or sheep or lamb or all of that.
I think we have probably the last question here. Alexei is asking about SAMA sandbox framework. I've heard that it's not for people at the idea stage. They should have some kind of MVP, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Alexei, and sorry, Omar, and Said, just if I jump for this question. I think if you want to work in Saudi in fintech, you're one of the lucky ones, because everything in regulation is published. There's no hidden things or back doors. All what you need is to go to the website, download the regulation or the conditions or the applications, and that's it. Everything is crystal clear. If there's a regulation, then it's a regulated business. If they're not a regulated business, it's under sandbox, either SAMA or CMA. You need their conditions, 1, 2, 3, cybersecurity, customer protection, partnership mode, the banking partners, everything's, are you receiving money? Everything is in the format. And by the way, you can also ask them for a consultation session, which is one of the rare regulators. They allow you to do that.
Interesting. That's very good. Great.
Fintech is the right hub for you.
And just to add on what Naif is saying, although it doesn't really serve my business, but Saudi have a very, very good, support system. So if you call, for example, MISA, the Ministry of Investment, they have a very prompt international hotline where you can call them, ask them step by step how to register, activities, any support you need. They will, as a government, help you, navigate you, and tell you the requirements, steps, and procedures that you need to follow. You don't need even to look at it. You can just call them, and they can guide you step by step.
Said, you can probably also summarize for Lars what we were talking about during this webinar. He's asking, what is your view of cross-border expansion abilities? Is it global scalability important, or regional focus is more important?
I think it's both, and Saudi is about both. Saudi Arabia's vision is not about only Saudi Arabia to grow Saudi Arabia. It's about growing Saudi Arabia as a regional and international powerhouse in all types of fields. For all the way from soft diplomacy to manufacturing to exporting and everything in between. But also the starting point is always what's in it for Saudi. When you're coming to do business with Saudi, what are you adding to the equation? How are you serving the local and the international vision of Saudi Arabia?
Okay, thank you, everyone. That brought us to the end of this session. And I'm so grateful for all of you to join me today at this webinar, Said, Naif, Amar. And thank you, all our listeners, for this active session. You posed a lot of questions to us. We feel very grateful. And we hope to have many of this conversation further in the next coming year. And happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, Omar.
Thank you,
Said.
Thank you, Junior. Thank you, Omar. Thank you,
Bye,
Naif.
guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.